Sri Sai Ram. Last time in the last Parayanam I had mentioned how Swami said that our ideal for public speaking must be Swami himself. He said, you must be like me. Look around and see what is it that the audience needs. So your speech, Swami said, should always be audience-centric. It should be what they need. It should not be what you, whatever you feel like speaking. Swami said, before I start, I just look around and then I decide what is their need and talk to them about it. Meeru kuda Swami lagane undali. You should also be like Swami. It is a very, very powerful message that we should not hold ourselves to any example lower than the Lord himself. Now, in the summer course, we used to have lectures throughout the day, and in the evening, every single evening, Swami would come and give us a discourse. This was the most sought after part of summer course, and for the entire month, Swami would give a discourse. This was really beautiful. Not only was it beautiful, but it was very purifying. Listening from Swami's own lips about the Ramayana, about the Bhagavata, about the Bhagavad Gita, all these had a tremendous impact on our lives. And there were beautiful small anecdotes connected with something which happened. Every evening we used to be in the boys who were there in the bhajan group, and the Vedam boys, we used to be there on the stage, and the auditorium would be full. This auditorium almost it could contain about 1,000 people, but there would also be devotees who would come from city, and the ladies side would be full, the gents side would be full, and that means about 200-300 people outside. So the whole hall was packed. Everyone would be eager to listen to Swami, and then Swami would come. As he came, the Veda boys would start the invocation and lead him in procession. They would come to the stage, and Swami would come into the green room, and those were precious moments when he would spend time with us. I remember one particular day, it's one of those summer courses, I think it was 1978, I had spoken, and Professor Kasturi had told Swami that I spoke very well. In fact, I had spoken on the Bhagavata Vahini. So this must be 1978. Yeah. So I had spoken that day and during the day. And Swami was extremely happy when he heard from Professor Kasturi that I had spoken very well. In fact, Professor Kasturi came onto the stage and hugged me. Of course, there's a little incident connected with it. One of my colleagues, one of my classmates at that time, Dr. Narahari and myself used to take care of guests, all the guest speakers who used to come. They used to stay in the room just outside ours, and Swami had told us to take care of all these guests. And one day, Professor Divakarla Venkatavadani Garu, who was the head of department of Telugu from the Usmania University, had come. And while we were serving him breakfast, he was just talking to us, asking us about our names and all that. And Narahari happened to mention to him that I would be speaking that day on Srimad Bhagavatam. And Professor Venkatavadani was extremely happy, and he told me, Babu, don't forget to mention this incident, Gajendra Moksham, Prahalada's, the incident related to Prahalada and so on. He narrated a few of these very important parts of Srimad Bhagavatam and said, these are the core of Bhagavatam. Whatever else you might tell, you should not forget telling this. And in fact, he even taught me shloka, which I remember to this day. Sthana bilashi tapasistitoham tvam praptavan yogi muninda guhyam kachan vichinvan samavapya ratnam aho krutatosmi varamna yache. This is what Dhruva says when the Lord, that small boy Dhruva, 5-year-old, he has come off to the forest because he wants to do tapas so that he will get a place on his father's lap. This was the story. And now that small little kid has done penance, and the penance has been so intense. The Lord Himself manifests Himself in front of the small child and asks him, "What do you want?" And the child sings this sloka and says, "I came here wanting a place, identity, okay, it's identity in my kingdom. But I have got you, Lord. Now that I have got you, I don't want anything else, because you are so difficult to be obtained even by the yogis and the munis, and I have had your darshan. And I am so filled with joy that I don't need anything else." And he says, he uses a metaphor. He says, a person trying to search for glass pieces has perchance landed up finding diamonds. That is my state. I came here searching for some silly worldly position, and what I have got is your darshan. I don't want anything else. And of course, Swami says that the Lord was just testing Dhruva. It's not that he didn't know what was there in his heart. After all, the Lord who could find him in that Dandakaranya, that forest, the dense forest, when he could find this child, as if he doesn't know what is there in the heart of the child. But the Lord was testing Dhruva to see whether what he thought, what he did, and what he said were all in line. That Trikarana is Shuddhi, Swami said. And Dhruva failed in that test. And so the Lord said, no, now you have to go back and rule the kingdom. And of course, after that, I will give you a place in the sky as a star. And so that is what happened. So this professor told me, you must mention this, you must mention that. And I was so thrilled. Of course, many of those I did want to say. And after he had his breakfast, I went for my breakfast. When I went to the college, imagine my I should say horror to find that this professor was speaking just before my talk on the same topic. He was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was an expert. In fact, he had compiled so many volumes on the scriptures and it's encyclopedia on Srimad Bhagavatam. And here, immediately after his was my talk, and he was wondering what I would speak. And I told myself, no problem, these are the important incidents which he mentioned, I am sure I can do this. And when I went there, I found that in his talk, he mentioned every one of these, plus some more, plus even that shloka. And immediately after his talk, my name was announced and I was asked to speak. I was supposed to speak for 1 hour. You can imagine 1,000 students, 1 hour, and this would be on Srimad Bhagavatam. And I made a very quick decision. I said, Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, everyone knows, but why not talk about Srimad Bhagavatam, which is autobiographical, Bhagavata Vahini? Why not talk about that? And luckily, by that time I had read Bhagavata Vahini a number of times. In fact, I was so fascinated by, while reading it, that I learnt Telugu so that I can read the Telugu original, because the English itself was so sweet and so beautiful that I learnt Telugu, and I even dared to write a few letters to Swami in Telugu. Swami would come and of course point out my spelling mistakes and so on. Okay, so I went and spoke on Bhagavata Vahini. And at the end of the talk, Professor Kasturi was so happy, he came onto the stage and hugged me and said, that was a fantastic speech. And he even went and told Swami about my talk. And Swami called me upstairs and gave me namaskar. Now in the evening, as I mentioned, we would be in the green room, and Swami came there, and this bhajan group would always consist of students from our college, plus also students who come from different parts of the country, Assam group, Oriya group, students from Orissa, or students from West Bengal, like that. Each day they would, students from that particular state would get a chance to sing bhajans. That day I remember it was a group from Assam, and I was there, and Swami looked at me and he asked one of those boys, who all spoke today It is a typical strategy with a father, a proud father or mother uses. He asked that boy very innocently, who all spoke today? And that boy mentioned all the others, and then suddenly looked at me and said, Swami, Ravikumar also spoke. And then Swami said, did he speak well? And that boy with big eyes, he said, yes, Swami, it was so thrilling and all that. And of course, Swami was very proud. So this is what happened. And then we used to sit beside Swami. Swami would sit on the stage and with the discourse table and all that, we would sit next to him and sing bhajans. That particular day, after the bhajans were over, I was sitting in the wings, on the side, and Swami was on the stage. And for those who were not privileged to have this chance to hear the talks during the morning sessions of the summer course or the afternoon sessions, there would be a summary presentation. One boy and one girl would be picked up, and they would give the summary of whatever transpired in the morning and afternoon. And as the summary presentation was going on, I was sitting, as I mentioned, in the wings, and there was a paper in my hand, a full-scape paper, and I was very unconsciously rolling it. Swami, who was looking at the audience, suddenly turned and looked at me and called me onto the stage. And so I went onto the stage. I had that paper in my hand, and Swami asked, what are you doing? And I said, Swami, I was just rolling this paper. Keep that paper on the table and go, he said. So I kept that paper on the table, and I went back and sat, wondering why Swami asked me to do that. During the course of the discourse, Swami said this particular thing. He said, sometimes when you have bad thoughts, you wonder how to get over it. Look at this rolled piece of paper. If it has to be straightened, what do? You roll it in the opposite direction. So too, replace every bad thought which comes to you with a good thought. That is the way to overcome bad thoughts. A simple sheet of paper was enough for the Lord to convey such an important life lesson. How we can use it to convey, to change our thought patterns. This is what Swami taught on that day. We'll continue with this in the next session.